What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Kablim, and Mr. Maui Yap. What's up, guys?
What's up on this
Nakaitim kayong dalawa. Ba't kayo nakaitim?
kasi
Dark
30
blue
point
natin to.
blowout.
Dark blue pala.
Dark blue. This is the NU.
Uy, nakuha na yung dark blue. May dark blue na pala.
Oh, may dark blue na tayo. Dun sa mga nag-order, by the way, we have already contacted you kasi nandito na yung mga orders nyo. Kita nyo naman sa title. We're going to do another one of our favorite episodes, and I think the listeners love this segment also. We're going to do Swak, Saks, o Sablay. But before we talk about that, this episode is actually brought to you by this Swak, Saks, o Sablay episode is brought to you by Cedar and Co. So one of our sponsors, syempre, meron tayong Cedar and Co. shoe
Maganda
tree.
siya, guys.
Ayan, may sample pa si May nasa leather shoes.
Sample.
And shoehorn. So, by the way, guys, hindi lang naman kami ang merong shoe tree and shoehorn, di ba? So, Cedar & Co. is generous enough to give some of our listeners some of their products and merchandise. So, all you need to do is send in your Swak, Saks, o Sablay answers in the comment section down below, and we will be picking 6 of the best answers. So, 5 will be receiving a Cedar & Co. metal shoehorn. So, slightly longer than your usual shoehorn and sturdier. And then, one lucky winner, probably the best answer, no, Gab? And si Gab at si Maui ang pipili. The best Swak, Saks, o Sablay answer will be getting a Cedar & Co. shoe tree. Isa lang. Hindi, joke lang. Siyempre, pair yan, guys. Hindi na pwedeng isa lang. Isa lang, eh, no?
Kaliwa o kanan?
Bibilhin mo.
Pili kaliwa o kanan.
Kaliwa o kanan. So, please make sure comment your Swak, Saks, o Sablay answers below. The best ones will win a prize. We'll coordinate with you on how to claim your prize. Don't worry about that. Okay. Let's get started. Gab. Ano ba ang Swaks and Saks o Sablay natin? By the way, if you're not familiar with this episode, quick recap. Gab will be saying or sharing a statement, and then all three of us will be reacting to that statement by saying Swak, if we 100% agree to it. Saks, sakto lang, maybe we agree to it. Sablay, 100% hindi. Sablay yan, airball. Kagaya ng mga tres ni Jared Bahay kanina. Okay, let's get started.
Before we start, we do want to shout out that this Swak, Saks, and Swak, Saks, or Sablay segment, Sam, is inspired by the mismatch. The old mismatch.
The old mismatch.
The old mismatch. The podcast
left
on
us.
the podcast on Spotify, previously hosted by Chris Vernon and Kevin O'Connor, but now it's Vernon and Jacoby. So RIP to the old mismatch, but the new mismatch. So they did something similar, and this was inspired by them. All right. Marami tayong mag-uusapan kasi sobrang the games today were kind of boring. But surprisingly, we're gonna talk about the game that was the lowest scoring game in season 87. Adamson beating UE, an upset by the Adamson Falcons over the UE
upset.
Red Warriors. 45-37. What a game! 45-37. So my statement for this, Adamson's win over UE was their biggest win of the season. Swak, Saks, o Sablay. Sammy, the Adamson hater.
Oo nga, sabi ko na nga ba kaya ako,
hater.
okay, sabi ko na nga ba kaya ako ang pinili mo. But it's going to be 100% Cedar & Co. Swak para sa akin. Parang Cedar & Co. Swak sa sapatos mo, tsaka swak na swak yung amoy niya, di ba? Cedar wood, para refreshing yung amoy ng sapatos mo. It has to be their biggest win for me. Number one, yung timing of this win. They're in the second round. They've lost 5 straight games. If they lost this game for sure goodbye na to sa chances nila in making it to the Final Four. And UE has proven that they are clearly the number 3 team, at least for now, diba? Has proven that. They've beaten a lot of good teams then. So, beating a high-ranked team like UE, number 3, and breaking that 5-game losing streak, I think was very crucial for Adamson. And with that Ateneo loss, elevates Adamson even further up the rankings. Like, it adds extra space for Adamson, who hasn't faced Ateneo yet, one of their losses in the first round, diba? So that gives Adamson a little bit of an edge. And I think it's also a confidence booster for Adamson. UE might not be in the same level as a LaSalle or a UP, but they are clearly one of the top teams in season 87. So, big confidence boost for Adamson, and yung timing talaga with the remaining games left. I think this will give Adamson some sort of momentum, especially going up against, yun nga, as I mentioned, I think Ateneo hindi pa nila nakakalaban. A big one would be UST, who, if they beat, they could tie or maybe even surpass for that number 4 seed. I don't want to say anything bad about Adamson anymore kasi every season napapahiya lang ako. And that's why I picked them. I think I picked them to be number 4 in my latest power rankings nung first round. 100% Swak.
Maui. Was that their biggest win this season?
Yeah, I would say Swak. Parang yung Cedar and Co. set sa sapatos mo, di ba? This has to be the biggest win of Adamson season. Is this like last season where Adamson will make that late season push, di ba, to make to the Final Four? UE is not safe. Diba? By any chance, UE is still not safe. It's very bad that they lost this game. If they won this game, they could have probably locked up yung Final Four slot. But they're now 1-2 in the second round. I think they finished 5-2, diba, nung first round. 6-3 now. 6-4 now. This has to be Adamson's biggest win just because they beat somebody who's not yet clinch for that Final Four slot, diba? If UE continues to lose, maybe they could sneak in and get number 3. Who knows? But as Sam mentioned, Adamson will still face NU, UST, and Ateneo. 3 winnable games, diba, for Adamson. Probably if they beat UST, that could be their biggest win. But right now, this is without a doubt their biggest win in season 87. Another ugly win for Adamson. I think this is how they really want to play the game.
They love that type of game, yeah.
They love to sneak in wins. They love to play hard-nosed defense. They have to limit their opponents below 60 points. They limited UE to 37 points. I think si Pong Docanes, the statistician of the UAAP, mentioned that this is the first time actually in 5 years. This is the lowest scoring game in 5 years. So 2019 was the last time that a team failed to score 40 points in the UAAP. I'm excited. Diba? Anytime we see upsets in the UAAP, I'm excited. The first 2 slots are locked up basically already as expected. Diba? So we want sana magkagulo naman when you talk about the battle for 3rd to 8th. So this win by Adamson is one way for that to happen. Let's see.
Yeah, ako agree ako sa pareho sa inyo. Siyempre, Swak, parang ang scent ng Cedar and Co. para sa sapatos mo. Alright? So, I mean, obviously, this was a Swak. They faced the number 3 team. And also, it affected UE's chances to get that twice to beat advantage. Diba? I think that's a part of the equation as part of what you guys said. Yes, the timing for Adamson was right, but also on the other end for UE, this was a big loss because until now there was still a possibility for them to get a twice to beat advantage because they haven't faced UP. If they could have beaten UP and then UP could have eventually lost to LaSalle. At the end of the first round, then there's a possibility that they could actually sneak in there or maybe have a playoff for the twice to beat advantage. But now with this loss, against a team that UE was supposed to beat. I think
Mhm.
twice to beat has to be written off already for
Mhm.
the UE Red Warriors, because I'm not betting on any other team to beat UP aside from LaSalle. I mean, UP has demolished the rest of the competition
Mhm.
aside from LaSalle. So there is just no way for them to get the twice to beat advantage. But for Adamson, this was I want to say a good but an ugly win. Both teams combined for 24 turnovers in the first half. They combined for 41 the entire game. Both teams shot sub 30% from the field. Where do you see that? Sub 30% from the field, both teams. They couldn't buy a bucket at any point in this game. UE in the fourth quarter, I think, was started 0 out of 10, could not hit anything. And this was something we said, no, we know Adamson struggles on offense and they do turn the ball over a ton of times. But UE, despite the good record in the first round, they do have dry spells. We said this at the end of the first round. UE is prone to having dry spells. That's why they have to rely on their defense a lot of the time to keep them in games. But that dry spells, I think, spanned for four, four quarters, which is unheard of. That a dry spell to span for 4 quarters. They could not hit anything. And in the fourth quarter, just Adamson just made more shots. That was plainly it. I do want to shout out AJ Franzman, who
Mhm.
finished this game strong. It was Matt Erolon who started this game strong, but it was AJ Franzman who actually finished this game strong for Adamson. Franzman has had, I would say, a very underrated season. We don't talk about him much, but
Mhm.
he was the key off-season acquisition for Coach Nas and Adamson, and it's paying off. No, he's a bit undersized to play a big, but as a scoring wing, as a guy you put on bigger guys that yung despite his short stature, he can do that, and he can definitely score. And he showed it here. He can shoot from three, he can shoot from mid range, he can drive to the basket. Uh, and I'm happy for Adamson. I've been an Adamson backer since last season.
Adamson backer. Totoo naman. Totoo
Adamson
naman.
backer ako, pare. Yung I've always said that they're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
After their
Totoo naman.
loss to after their last loss to UP, people were saying that Adamson is a bust. Gab, you shouldn't have hyped them up so much. But parang ako, I never said that they were contenders. I just said that they're gonna battle for the Final Four, and I'm gonna pick them to get into the Final Four. And with this win,
They're
they
back. They're back
they're
into
back.
contention.
I mean,
Yeah.
if they lost, the separation between them and UST is gonna be very hard to make up. But now with this win, they're I think they're a game behind. Tama, diba? They're half a game behind or something. So they're half a game. Yung tama, diba? UC is 4-6.
Five,
UST is 5
one
and
game.
6.
Five
Adamson
and
is 4
six.
and 7. So one
Oh,
game.
oh.
One
So
game.
one
Tama
game
sila.
behind UST. Very manageable. I don't think they've yet to face UST.
They haven't.
Hindi pa.
They
Hindi
haven't.
pa.
Di
So
ba?
that's gonna be a big game. Adamson
Tama.
versus UST in the
Yep.
second round is gonna be a big game. We're surely gonna watch it. But this was a big win by Adamson, despite the ugly nature of the game. They were able to pull off those big shots in the fourth quarter and continue to lock down UE. I can't believe we're talking extensively about the 45-37 game, but we are. But that was a big win by the Adamson
That,
Story Falcons. Anything to add?
yeah, I think nakakatawa nga that we're talking about probably one of the lowest scoring games in UAAP history. It's because of the magnitude of the game, diba? We'll talk about, definitely we'll talk about the UST Adamson game when it comes up. But as of right now, Swak, that this is really the biggest win of Adamson so far this season.
I just want to add, I'm a bit surprised na yung lowest scoring game of the season so far did not involve FEU or NU. Kasi sila lagi yung sila lagi yung lowest scoring, di ba? Yung mga past few
Yeah.
seasons.
FEU ang last team to score below 40.
See? Exactly.
Sila ulit!
Exactly my point. So, put me in for a low scoring FEU game for the rest. One of these games, yung remaining games ng FEU. But I love the shout out to Franzman and to Erolon kasi they missed out on Erolon against UP. Glad that he was back in time to go up against UE. Franzman, the mid-range has been there pero yung 3-point shooting niya yung really something that he has developed since the preseason. One of the few guys that showed up in the preseason and has proven na he is legit during the season. Shout out to AJ Franzman.
Oh, by the way, they were able to contain Precious Momoe in this game. And OJ Ojorikre played like 5 minutes. So they played Precious. I think Precious played nearly the entire game. And they matched up with Precious with, as usual, but without OJ. So it was just a lot of locals of Cedric Manzano and Mario Barasi matching up against Precious Momoe and just zoning it on them. So shout out
and
to
na-frustrate si
Adamson.
Precious by the end na-frustrate.
Oh, he was. He was
So,
9
missing
turnovers.
a ton.
Yeah.
Saka he had 9 turnovers, almost infamous triple-double.
Oh.
Shout out
Okay.
to Adamson, man. Shout out to Adam. Okay, so
Next question.
our next statement. So if you watched the Ateneo UP game, you did catch a bit of trivia from Boom Gonzalez and Willie Wilson regarding traveling. That this season there have been 232 traveling calls coming into that Ateneo UP game. And last season I think there were 236. So I think
We're about to
Ateneo UP
surpass it.
No, already did.
Nalampas na natin. Oh, sorry. That was before the game nga pala.
So nalampasan na natin ang traveling calls for season 87 compared to season 86, and I think a lot of people have taken notice that the UAAP is rather strict with traveling calls. And so some of our subscribers have actually commented. I think 3 or 4 different comments have cited the traveling calls as an eyesore. So my statement for this, the UAAP should be less strict with traveling moving forward. Maui, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, ako personal opinion ko, sakto lang, 'di ba? It's good that the UAAP has emphasized this kasi this is something that these players or young players will have to watch out for when they go play abroad, 'di ba? I don't know lang, I saw on Twitter, on X, a lot of people are actually commenting that there are times that it doesn't look like a travel but they're still calling it. Maybe we have to educate more the referees regarding the traveling call. I think it's happening too much. I don't know the exact statistic when it comes to miscalled traveling calls, but it seems like sometimes it doesn't look like a travel but they call it a travel. I don't know if it's my mind playing games with me because I watch a ton of NBA where traveling calls are very lenient versus FIBA. But I also watch a lot of international basketball. I watch the B League, I watch the Euro League sometimes, and a ton of FIBA basketball. Traveling calls are not as frequent as the one that's being called in the UAAP. Sometimes I think it's overblown right now. Maybe we can try to look at the statistics after the season. Maybe they can review this so that we can be sure that we are calling the right plays, the right calls during the games. Kasi some of these traveling calls have been crucial, di ba? When teams are going on runs, when teams are in the crucial stages. So we have to be more mindful, di ba? I mean, I don't think teams are looking to beat the record, di ba, of traveling calls in the season, di ba? If a lot of traveling calls were called from the previous season, then there should have been a lot less traveling calls called the following season because teams should be more worried, di ba? Which I think they are. So it's a bit concerning that we are getting a ton of traveling calls, 200 plus in a season. I think kanina sa game kanina, I'm not sure if I heard it correctly, it was more than double-digit travels during the game a while ago. So that's too many possessions, diba? How many possessions do you have in a game, diba? And you call traveling. But I still think that it is correct that the UAAP is emphasizing this rule, diba? It's part of basketball that you play the right way. Yeah. So,
Sammy.
Actually, I agree with Maui, lahat ng points niya. But I'm going with Sablay. Just because, well, hindi ako expert but for me, a travel is a travel. But, so, if, just because, they're calling it, if they see it as a travel, they have to call it as a travel. I don't want them to be as lenient, na-mention nga ni Maui, as lenient as the NBA. Sometimes, crazy na, diba? Sa mga shacking a fool. Exactly, shacking a fool. Crazy naman yung travel calls doon. And nakaka-frustrate din yung mga ganun, diba? When they're too lenient. So for me, it's really black and white. It's either a travel or it's not. But Maui made a good... So sa akin, Sablay ang answer. It's not about being less strict. Kasi kung travel siya, hindi travel talaga siya. But Maui made a good point. Maybe it's about... It goes both ways. Maybe it's about educating the teams or the players or the schools more na what constitutes as a travel and what doesn't. And then on the other end, also educating the referees more kung tama nga ba na obviously they're making this adjustment, diba? They're making a conscious adjustment. That's why maybe sometimes they are calling traveling calls that are maybe not actually the right call. It's just like in the NBA, a lot of people are complaining na ang dami ng foul calls sa NBA. They're like a lot stricter with foul calls, and then later last season, I think they adjusted. Naging mas lenient naman sila, diba? So I think maybe now, because it's an emphasis, nasa top of the minds of the referees, that's why they're calling it a lot. But maybe there's a middle ground. But when we're talking about being strict, a travel is a travel. So for me, like, don't be less strict, but just make sure na there are clean rules, or there's a line to what a travel is and what is allowed within the game.
Good answers, but I'm with Sammy on this one. It's Sablay for me. They shouldn't be less strict. Again, if a player travels, call the travel. And I think from a crowd perspective, from a third party perspective, if you're watching the game, it's easy to miss what the referees see. I'm sure this was a point of emphasis for the referees. That's why they're calling it a lot.
Probably, yeah.
So yung mga mahirap nakita na travel, like when a player drags his pivot foot before making his move, or because you have to dribble first before you drag or you lift your pivot foot. I think that's
where the confusion
is.
Yun ang
pinakamarami.
Yeah.
Yun yung pinakamarami, which is even if the player makes the first move with his non-pivot foot, but he doesn't dribble first and he drags his pivot foot, that's a travel. Diba? Again, baka nasanay lang mga tao na sa NBA, very lenient and carefree, or yung talagang lantaran na traveling lang ang tinatawag nila. But if you watch NBA games, there are a lot of travels that are not called. Diba? They're not as strict, o baka nasanay lang mga tao doon. But yeah, if it's a travel, it's a travel. The rule should not be bent just because it's bad to watch, diba? Or it's an eyesore for fans to watch. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, yes, the end product, the game itself might be coming to a halt or becoming a drag to watch, but that's the principle. That's the rules that they're enforcing. And I know at times it's really hard. Yes, and referees are really watching for it. I think that's the thing. They're really watching for it. And us normal fans cannot see it, especially from a TV screen. It's really hard to see what they see because they're up close. So I'm gonna give the referees a benefit of the. I don't think the refs just wanna call travel, yung traveling yung all the time, di ba? Ang hirap naman pumito, yung tatagal ng game, tatagal sila sa court. Bababa yung report cards nila, yung remember this, Maui, may mga referee report cards as we found out yung last season. So they don't want to make wrong calls also. So they'll be graded wrongly. So graded badly. So I'm sure the referees are not doing this to spite other teams or to spite the UAAP fans, but they're doing this because they're enforcing a rule. Okay? So ako, Sablay, I don't think the UAAP should be less strict with traveling calls. It's the players who have to adjust. It's the players who have to know to dribble first before dragging or moving or lifting your pivot foot, which is tama naman. That's the right way that you should attack the basket or you should play basketball. Anything to add before we go to our next statement?
Maganda naman din yung sinabi ni Maui, no, na maybe it's also help preparing the players for international competition. Kasi the UAAP follows yung FIBA rules din, di ba? So I think it's good for them to learn now kesa naman later on, di ba?
Yeah. I think maganda yung point ni Sam, di ba? Yung communication between the referees and the teams, di ba? I think this has to be, if we want to lessen the traveling calls, then teams have to talk to the referees, talk to the commissioner's office, and fully understand the rules of the game, di ba? If this is how they call it, then teams will have to adjust, di ba? That's the rules, as Gab mentioned. So, very good points.
All right. On to our next statement. So, our friend Navs recently had a Facebook post or a post in his socials outlining that after the weekend games, VJ Pre has surpassed Jared Bahay in statistical points for the Rookie of the Year race. So, my statement for this, accounting not just for stats, VJ Pre should rightfully be the Rookie of the Year. For now, as of right now, he should be the Rookie of the Year. Sammy, you go first. Si Maui yung first kanina.
It's a good question. Medyo may pagka-homer pick din ako with Jared Bahay. And I really like how he's playing. Pero I'm baka may recency bias ako because I saw that game against UP. So I'm gonna have to go with 100% Swak. Parang Cedar and Co. And yung magiging fresh Cedar woody scent ng mga sapatos nyo, di ba? Oh, yan. So, Cedar and Co. Check out your Cedar and Co. shoe tree. So, I'm going Swak. That's as of right now, getting to watch Jared Bahay in that in that UP Ateneo game. Why VJ Pre as the Rookie of the Year without counting the stats, no? Number one, I think medyo may advantage si Jared Bahay when we count the stats. We base it on the stats kasi we all know na medyo higher yung points na binibigay sa mga sa steals, sa assists, things that a point guard would usually get, 'di ba? So dun pa lang medyo I want to say may unfair advantage na si Jared Bahay. But if you don't consider that, I think VJ Pre has had bigger performances in terms of their career performances and maybe a more consistent, slightly more consistent performance than Jared Bahay. Second, I think in terms of like the offense, I think there are more plays that are drawn for VJ Pre. Si Jared Bahay kasi, actually, I think he was the one who said this na, 'di ba? Like, yung career high niya nung weekend, he wasn't happy because it was not within the system of Coach Tab. So, if you think about it, it's, paano ba? Si Jared Bahay has been like scoring outside of the system. So, sa akin, I think VJ Pre deserves to be the rookie of the year if you think about what he has contributed to FEU, how he's done it on both ends of the floor or also and yung versatility niya. He's scored, he's rebounded, he's done so much for FEU. Jared Bahay is very important to Ateneo but also sometimes parang stat padding in the sense na dahil wala nang ibang score sa Ateneo, Jared Bahay is sort of forced to score on his own or do things out of nothing. So yun. So medyo I would favor VJ Pre over Jared Bahay. At least now. May mga games talaga na inefficiency Bahay and not entirely his fault but I would give it to VJ Pre. So swak ako. VJ Pre deserves it.
Wow. Maui.
Homer ako eh. Sabihin ko na homer ako kasi hindi, kasi when you look at the Rookie of the Year award, my tendency is to look at the most valuable player, most valuable rookie. Diba? Kasi when you talk about Rookie of the Year, also like in other leagues, they usually put a premium on the Rookie of the Year award to the player that made the most impact to a team's winning din eh, diba? But in this case, since both of the teams are not winning, diba, they're at the bottom of the standings, 3 or 4 games below 500.
Yun lang.
Diba? We can't really put a premium on any of them on that aspect. But in terms of being more valuable, I would say that Jared Bahay is more valuable than VJ Pre. So my answer is Saks in this answer because you can look at it at different angles. You can look at that VJ Pre being versatile, VJ Pre getting more rebounds, or Bahay getting some unfair advantage with those assist numbers. I'm not sure with the steals numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if si VJ Pre has more steals than Bahay because of his defensive versatility. But I would say only Saks just because I think both of them truly deserve to be Rookie of the Years at this point. Both of them have had similar experiences in terms of team success and I think yung consistency. Diba? We've said this before. Both of them haven't been consistent the whole season long. Diba? There's no clear-cut winner for the Rookie of the Year award. Both of them coincidentally had their best games last week and I don't know if VJ Pre will have a abysmal or a dismal game after his career high game, similar to how Bahay did a while ago. Bahay probably had this game that he has had the most air balls. Diba? I think just the first half, if you count in the game against UP kanina, he probably had 3 or 4 air balls from downtown. But I would say that Jared Bahay still deserves also to win Rookie of the Year just because without him, I don't think Ateneo would get any wins. Diba? I would argue that FEU could probably have sneaked in a few wins without VJ Pre. Just because they still have players like Bautista, players like
Konate.
Diba? There's an argument VJ Pre there's an argument if VJ Pre is the most valuable player on their team, if he's the best player. With Ateneo, I would say that without a doubt, Jared Bahay is the most valuable. Jared Bahay is the most important player and probably the most skilled. Maybe Tuano or Kuna has an argument, but I would say that he is the most important and valuable player so far. But both of them they deserve to win Rookie of the Year. Ang maganda actually na despite all of the advantages given to the point guard, I think that as of this moment, both of them has a fighting chance and should have a fighting chance to win Rookie of the Year. Kap.
Maganda to dahil iba-iba yung sagot natin because I'm Sablay on this. I think it should go to Jared Bahay. So, and here's my case. VJ Pre, I think if you count out the × 2 in steals and assists, VJ Pre would run away with this. I think he's scoring more points, he's getting more rebounds, blocks, he's getting more blocks than Jared Bahay. He's averaging more turnovers though than Jared Bahay, which surprising that for a guy that does not handle the ball as much as Jared Bahay, who sets up the offense as much as Jared Bahay. Um, he gets more turnovers. Jared Bahay has the advantage in assists and steals. Um, and that is basically what's propelling him to the top of the statistical points race. But I'm with Maui. Again, accounting not just for stats, I think it's Jared Bahay because he, as Maui said, his role in Ateneo is more important to Ateneo than what VJ Press role is to FEU. Because FEU has Pasaol, has Bautista, has Konate. He has Konate to cover for him on rebounding or yung rim protection. They give the ball to VJ Pre on spots where he can mostly score, diba? Because they have a lot of other playmakers. If you look at Ateneo, there is basically no one else who can make an offensive play aside maybe from Sean Toano or in some instances Chris Kuhn. But it's mostly been Jared Bahay trying to create offense for his teammates. And he's been mostly inefficient. Actually, both of them have been very inconsistent. But as Maui said, if Jared Bahay was not on Ateneo, I don't think Ateneo would be 0-14 in my opinion. Diba? I don't think they'd pull off any win this season if Jared Bahay was not there, and we would be relying solely on maybe si Ian Espinosa and Michael Asoro, diba? Yung imagine niyo na lang, diba? So para sa akin yun, the role is, and VJ Pre is also getting a ton more minutes than Jared. Diba? Si VJ Pre barely rests. He's averaging near the same minutes as Konate. He does not go out of the game. He actually, ang daming times he has to ask for a sub out because Sean Chambers does not want to sub him out of the game. He doesn't want to bring in Aaron Bagunu from the bench. Really, magpapasub ka? No. So, for me, the value that Jared Bahay brings is much more than what VJ Pre brings. Again, if you give it to VJ, I won't be mad at it. I'm one of the biggest VJ Pre fans since high school. I've been hyping him up, so I won't be angry at that. But if you were to make me pick between the two, accounting not just for stats, it would definitely be Jared Bahay. Anything to add, guys, before we go on?
VJ Pre and Jared Bahay are perfect for their teams, no? I think these are the two roles or positions that they were sorely lacking last season. For FEU, it was a big man. Even actually FSA, di ba, wala sila. Unplayable yung FSA nila last year. So VJ Pre and Mo Konate have been a revelation for them. For Ateneo, it was a point guard, lead point guard. Si Ian Espinosa has done an admirable job, but he's really better suited off the bench. So, you can say na they're actually really very parang MVPs in their own right for these teams, especially if you saw both of these teams last season. But I won't argue with that Jared Bahay pick.
All right, let's move on. So let's talk about something non-basketball or non on-court product. So we love talking about the TV coverage or the broadcasts on Boleros. No, we haven't talked about it much this season because we've watched a lot of games live. We don't. Si Sammy, I know, watches a ton of the games on Pilipinas Live. So maybe you have a
thank you to the UAAP for the press pass pala first.
Thank you. So my statement for this is Signal /Pilipinas Live /One Sports has done a better job with the broadcast, with the coverage of the UAAP in season 87 compared to season 86. I would like to get your take first, Sam Santos, because you have the most experience of us here with regards to watching on TV or on video.
Yeah. If yun yung statement, they have done a better job versus last season. 100% Cedar and Co. swak na swak for me. But they're not perfect. Yun yung sasabihin ko, di ba? So, I think every season, to be fair to well, I watched via Pilipinas Live. I think every season, they have improved. Naalala ko noon, it was, I think, pag abroad, hindi ka makakanood. Maui has proven na pwede ka na manood abroad ngayon, and I think some of the commenters have also mentioned that. Maraming times noon na nawawala yung video or napuputol yung stream. I think this season, it's better, mas reliable na siya, but they're not perfect because I noticed, and I thought this was only my internet. It was due to my internet until Maui mentioned it. Sometimes the audio is very bad for Pilipinas Live. Parang basag yung tunog. And akala ko talaga internet ko or Bluetooth earphones ko. When Maui pointed it out, I realized na it was really the coverage. And it's not just one game eh. That's the thing eh. Kung nangyari lang siya once, I'll let it
It's
pass.
a recurring thing, diba?
Yeah, so I don't know if napapansin nila yon. Maybe no one is monitoring it or whatever, but it has happened to me a couple of times. So that's my one complaint so far with the coverage. I also like na walang ads na. I remember noon nung nanonood ako, I think I used to...
Signal play.
Ako smart. Di ba kayo signal play? Ako smart ako nanonood. And I just really hated the ads. And mas worse yung coverage doon. That's why na-convince ako to pay the 150 pesos a month to invest in Pilipinas Live. And for me, it's worth it. Plus, the added coverage of like women's, high school, may NBA din, FIBA, sulit siya sa akin. So, they're improving, they're better, but they're not perfect. That's my answer.
Maui.
Yeah.
Better this season.
Yes, without a doubt. Swak to parang itong Cedar and Co. sa sapatos mo, 'di ba? Mabango pa. But yeah, I would have to agree with Sam. Even if you subscribe naman sa other apps, even the NBA premium app, we three know this, is not perfect, 'di ba? But continually, I would say that the Pilipinas Live is improving, not just on the coverage itself, but on the content, diba? Sam mentioned it, you can now watch the other games, the other sports even. I remember ng Olympics, you could check out multiple sports. Right now, you can watch different sports for the UAAP. That's something that's very good for the coverage also of the other sports. One other thing that I want to say is, I barely have that problem when I go on different devices. Kasi sometimes when you're on the rush, when you're moving, you're watching on your phone, and then you transfer to let's say your PC or your laptop or iPad. You can't play the video, diba? It comments maximum streams watched. It doesn't come out anymore when you close it on your cell phone. Kasi before it, I remember I was so irritated.
Yeah,
diba? You closed it
takes
on
a while for them
Reklamo mo yun,
to
Ma'am.
realize that you've stopped watching, diba?
Yeah.
on different devices, diba?
Yeah.
So that's something that's actually very good for me. Another thing is I had the experience to watch abroad, diba? As Sam mentioned, when I went on my 2-week trip, there were no problems when I was watching abroad, diba? It was very smooth.
That's good.
I was using the Globe internet, so I was able to watch it local. But I would say that it should be the same if you're subscribed to the international plan. For me, sulit ang Pilipinas Live just because you get to watch different things, not just UAAP basketball, seniors division, diba? It's very good for the other sports, very good for the other divisions. Hopefully they continue to improve and include more content, diba? It's good that they also have NBA, diba? Siguro that's it for me when it comes to Pilipinas Live. But I'm very happy versus previous years a lot, diba? Si Sam mentioned it, no more ads. The experience is a lot better and easier. Even my parents who are seniors are able to access it on their mobile. Yep.
I'm very different from the two of you guys. So, swak kayong dalawa. Ako, sacks lang ako. Because I think medyo, they improve in some aspects, but in some aspects, nag-stagnate ang coverage. So, you've already mentioned the perks of Pilipinas Live and how it's gotten better as a service. As a paid service. Tama lang, you're getting our money, so you should be improving for the customer's experience. But there are some, I still have some gripes with the coverage. And one, the games are taking too long, especially men's games. I think that's something we've all fans yung have been griping about. There's too many in-game ads that it's taking too long. About the TV timeouts, for example, they have to insert the TV timeouts to get the coverage to show more ads, which is affecting the game, affecting the length of the game, which I don't personally like, and I think a lot of fans don't like the TV timeout. They always sigh when it's a TV timeout. The game a while ago in Ateneo UP, I think Coach Tab called a timeout. Then one possession later, another timeout was the TV timeout was called,
second
and it's
quarter.
like it's really crazy. I do hope Signal / One Sports / Pilipinas Live is able to tell the UAAP enough of the TV timeouts. We can get our ads in another creative way. Diba? We can allot different spots for ads that don't disrupt the flow of the game. Diba? Because honestly, I don't think the UAAP is telling Pilipinas Live na, okay, mag-TV timeout kami para yung makalabas kayo ng ads nyo. I think it's more si Signal or si One Sports nagsasabi na kailangan ng TV timeout because we have sponsors and we want to show them these commercials. So I do think that has to be solved. For the broadcast teams, I've actually been pretty happy. They've chosen pretty good analysts /
Good point.
commentators. That's something that the two of you guys have not pointed out. But we were always talking about this, diba?
Diego Dario, I
si-
love how he calls the game.
Oh, the commentators have always been good. Sila Boom Gonzalez, Nico Ramos, Miko Halili, Yoyo Sarmenta, who's my good friend. Yoyo, shout out to you. He's now calling men's games. He was previously calling women's games and juniors games, but he's been good. Si Diego Dario as an analyst, pretty spot on. Tyler Teo has been a surprise, has been a revelation for me this season. He's really, really good. And nag-sprite pa sa kanina.
Game na game.
Oh,
Game si
hirap,
Tyler.
Grabe talaga, kayod si Tyler. Wala, talo yung team niya eh.
Jet Manuel has always been really good on the call. Pretty funny too. Inserts a lot of jokes in his analysis. Willie Wilson, of course, has been good. So they've chosen the right analyst to keep, because there was a time when they were putting guys like sina Dylan Ababo, JV Casio, who were, let's just say, pretty rough.
Did not have the personality.
Oh, their personality was not showing in the way
color.
they called the games.
Yeah.
But unlike sina Diego Dario, sina Jet Manuel, Tyler Teo, si Isaac Go is pretty good on the call too. So they've chosen well. Silencio Subido, mixed bag sometimes. I mean, just some positive, just some criticism. Renzo, don't say it's just a good play or a good shot. What made it a good play? What made it a good shot, diba? Just some points with it. I mean, he
Bago
can
pa lang
improve.
bago pa lang.
Oh, yung bago pa lang. So if they keep him on board for next season or in the next couple of seasons, I'm sure he'll improve the way he calls the games. But overall, yun lang. I do want to see more creativity. Like if there are other segments they can put up there. Yung medyo hindi ako masyadong dun sa ano tawag dun?
Ako rin.
Rev your, yung Yamaha motorcycle.
Like, I like the bestie cam, although my wife is always trying to be put on the bestie cam. It's a fun segment to get fans involved.
Bestie cam, yeah.
So, that's good. Maybe dance
Dahil
cam,
doon may meme si Evan Nele eh.
Si Evanele. Oh, okay.
So, thank you to the bestie cam.
The half heart from Evanele, ang pinakamatapang na tao sa buong Pilipinas. So, yeah, ako Saks lang ako. Some areas okay, some areas yung definitely needs to improve. Okay, let's move on to our last statement because we're going on 50 minutes here. Let's talk about someone from UP. QMB has been the most impactful newcomer this season, regardless of rookie, non-rookie, FSA, or local. QMB has been the most impactful newcomer. Let's start with you, Maui.
Ako, I would say Sablay. I would argue that malaki yung impact ni QMB, especially after losing Malik Diouf, di ba? But there's an argument that they have enough talent on that front court. We saw how dominant Sean Alter was during the preseason. We've seen how dominant Gary Stevens was when he was in UE. That's before he even lost all that weight, di ba? Maybe si Ododo has been a bit underwhelming. But there are other players that come into mind kasi when I think about this, di ba? When newcomer, one can argue it could be Konate, the two most, di ba? Tongkara and Konate, di ba? I would say si Tongkara has had the biggest impact, di ba? Actually, both of them, di ba? Kasi you have to look at where they came from, di ba?
Yes, exactly.
When you talk about UAB, kasi you're talking about somebody who's replacing Malik Diouf, di ba? One of the best FSAs in the UAAP. But when you're talking about the two most, you're talking about pretty much, sorry for the language, garbage FSAs from previous past, di ba? Or non-existent. Maybe for the lack of a better term, non-existent, di ba? No pun.
Pwede.
Non-existent, no pun intended, di ba? Kasi diba yung UST FSA nawala. Tapos yung FEU FSA naman was
unplayable.
Was basically a negative when you played them, diba? Both of these moves have shown, diba, that even if you're a newcomer, FSA you can have a big impact, diba? And it's one of the reasons why FEU is now starting to fight for that Final Four slot and why UST has been a contender for that Final Four slot the whole season. Baka magalit mga UP fans sa akin, but I would say si QMB is valuable also. Very valuable to what UP is all about right now. Diba? I love his energy. I love how he impacts the game on both ends of the floor. I have how they take advantage of mismatches that he creates. But it's just that I think Sablay, because I think that those two other FSAs have had a bigger impact when it comes to being a newcomer in the UAAP this season, diba? UP is without a doubt the deepest team in the UAAP. So adding QMB was just strawberry on top of the sundae, as they would say, diba? These two other players, if Konate was not there or was still Mo Fati, FU could be 0 and whatever, diba? And UST, if they still didn't have a decent FSA, they probably are still struggling. Not one of the consensus picks to make it to the Final Four. Sap.
Good points. I agree. Nung sinabi ni Gab yung statement, first thing that comes to mind are the two most, diba? The two FSAs of UST and FEU. But I'll say hindi pala Sablay, but I'll say Saks. So I'm on the fence on this one. Tama ka, Mau. You could argue that Mo Konate, Mo Tongkara are probably the most impactful newcomers to their teams kasi nga they're starting from 0 or from a negative. Pero I would say Saks for now because it really depends on what will happen by the end of the season. Yun yung assessment ko. Because they got QMB.
Galing. Magaling ka talaga mambola, pare. Yung kaya tayo yung Boleros sa amin. Magaling ka talaga dyan.
Kaya tayo Bolero.
I-revisit natin to.
Oo, tama.
Pagtapos sa season.
Correct. Kasi they really got QMB for one reason alone. They definitely have a lot of talented big men in their lineup. But they know that most probably they're going to go up against LaSalle, and they need someone, sabi mo nga Mau, they need someone that can replace yung yung value that their FSA provided last year, 'di ba, si Malik. So if they can win the championship this season, I'm pretty sure it's QMB is going to have a big impact on that championship. And if that happens, then yeah, let's give it to QMB. It's going to be the most valuable new addition. But if we look at it like right now in terms of like talagang how it has helped teams get wins, it's a Sablay. So for me, swak ako. I'm on the fence. Until we determine kung sino ang
Swak
champion
ka or
by the end of...
Saks?
Ay, Saks ako. I'm on the fence. Until we determine kung sino yung champion by the end of the season.
That's actually a good point. And my original answer for this was Sablay. But Chami, you've convinced me. I'm Saks on this. I'm Saks. Now, there's not saying that QMB is not impactful. He definitely is. Just watch the freaking Ateneo game a while ago. They could not
Oh my
stop
God.
QMB.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Balogun, what are you doing? he was playing around with Balogun. Diba? Balo, I'm sorry. Kailangan ata na absent yung FSA para makita yung value ni Balogun. Pero pangkatapat yung other centers, other capable bigs, there is no way Balogun can. You were saying something, Sam?
Yeah, and Ateneo was making their run when QMB was on the bench. Yung si Udodo ata yung big at that time. And then, nung nag-turn over si Udodo, okay, balik ka na QMB. And then, wala. Goodbye. Goodbye na Ateneo. So, kinain niya talaga. Kinain niya Ateneo.
Yeah, actually, I'll comment lang, Gab, dun sa sinabi ni Sam. Maganda yung point ni Sam na we could revisit this at the end of the season, di ba? Kasi if UST doesn't make the Final Four, you could have a negative argument when you talk about Tungkara, di ba? If FEU doesn't even show that they have a chance to make it, if they struggle during the last few games, then maybe QMB runs away with this argument, di ba? So, actually, it all depends on the next few weeks, di ba? Gab, continue.
Yeah. So yun, QMB is definitely valuable, as I said. The offensive rebounding, the rim protection, the disciplined rim protection. You felt it. You could feel it every game whenever he's on the floor. His presence alone just deters a lot of shots at the rim. He's definitely valuable and impactful to UP. But you can also make the argument that UP will still be what? They're 9-1. They will still be 9-1 even without QMB there.
Good point. Yeah.
Just
True.
look at the preseason and look at
Tama
what their three other centers were doing. Those three other centers
That's true.
were pretty good. Stevens was
Wala
pretty
si QMB nun.
Oh, Alter was pretty good, and he's getting less than a minute a game. I don't know.
Di nanalo Lasal dun. Di ba? Dun sa
Oh.
tatlong yun.
True. That's true.
Yeah, so you could make the argument that even without QMB, UP would still be 9-1. Heck, they could even be 10-0 if those three bigs were still sharing the center minutes. They proved themselves in the off season. So kaya ako Saks din kay QMB. I definitely think some other newcomers have been more impactful for their teams. You mentioned si Konate, si Tungkara. If Tungkara wasn't there, I don't think UST would be winning against any team just because they're so small. Si Konate, FEU will definitely not be winning games if Konate wasn't doing his dirty work, his rebounding, and his shot blocking. John Abate, you could argue that John Abate has been a lot more impactful than some of the other newcomers, just because he's a point guard, he's a ball handler, he's a shot creator. UE lacks that. They need the guy to play make, and he's a guy that has been the primary playmaker for majority of the season and the primary ball handler. So there are a lot of newcomers in the UAAP, I think, that have been as impactful or even more impactful than QMB. But that's not to say he's not valuable. He definitely is. As I said, I just think that even without QMB, UP would still be the monster that they are. But Asami said, and very good point, Asami, we'll see in the finals. This is what they got QMB for. Uh, to win the championship against Mike Phillips and Lasal. They got him specifically for Mike Phillips, diba?
Mhm.
Because si Mike Phillips is a matchup problem for anyone. So, I can't believe you convinced me, Sam.
Yes, finally. Finally, first
sinabi
time
ni
ko
Sam
lang yan.
parang, ano? Tama ni Sam Santos. That's the last statement. Sammy, sign us off. Go ahead.
Okay, that's it for today's Swak Sablay episode sponsored by Cedar & Co. Don't forget, share your Swak or Sablay answers in the comment section below for a chance to win Cedar & Co. goodies. So sali na. And then, don't forget, like, share, comment, subscribe, please. Share with your friends. Promote it. We'll see you again next time. Last few games na lang. Exciting but also sad. But we'll cover every bit of it. See you again next time. Bye-bye.